This story time is going to take a little bit of time. So here's the thing. I told you about my choice of stealing money and how that would impact my life for 10 years. What I didn't tell you, what I think really changed my life, unbeknownst to me. When I went before the court in front of Judge Niles Jackson, the fact that I remember that is very profound. And I can see his face as vividly now as I did when I stood before him. This Caucasian man with these piercing blue eyes, telling me, looking me and said, young lady, I don't want to see you in my courtroom again. And if I do, you're going to serve the full year. At that moment, I knew I wasn't about that life. Although I had seen people and people in my family, different things, that wasn't me and that wasn't what I wanted. But it wasn't lost on me that I was probably one of several black youth that had come before his court. It wasn't lost on me. It wasn't lost on me that I was one of probably several black youth coming from a single mother background. But that stayed with me. Little did he know the impact he would have on my life. What do you mean by that, TJ? I'm glad you asked. I had to go before the court because, again, I was on that deferred sentence, and I had to request permission from the court to go into the Army Reserve for the waiver. And I went before him and I told him what I wanted to do, and he approved it. Got through that. After going through getting through my basic training and stuff like that, I applied for the University of Oklahoma. I went to Judge Niles Jackson and told him what I was going to do. Of course, he didn't remember. He said he did, but I don't think he remembered me. So that had to be, I went before the court the first time in 1986. Later that year, 1986, when I applied to go into reserve, and then when I went to apply for the University of Oklahoma in 1987, I let him know. When I graduated from the University of Oklahoma, I went to seek out Judge Niles Jackson to let him know again I was graduating. Years would pass, but by this time, I was a mom. I came back to Oklahoma as a mom. I was in graduate school, and my waiver was approved for me to get my commission as an officer in 1990. It was 97, 98-ish. I went to find him, Judge Niles Jackson. I went to find him, and I wanted to let him know what I was doing with my life. I went to let him know that I graduated. I was in graduate school. I was a mother. I was getting ready to become an officer in the United States Army. And I let him know the impact that he had on my life. Whether he intended to have it or not, he did. For one, I was scared. I didn't want to go before the court again. But I wanted to break the stereotype or live beyond the stereotype. And he said I was he said I was the only person had ever come to him all those years later to tell him how my life had turned out. Because again, the first time I went before him was 1986. But each milestone in my life, I would take it upon myself to seek him out, to let him know what I was doing with my life. And a lot of times when we do our jobs, because he's doing his job, we don't know the impact that we're having on someone's lives. And we may never know. Because I'm sure he forgot about me, but I never forgot about him. I never did. And that changed my life. It changed my life because I had a choice to make. And the truth of the matter is, it was a blessing that I got arrested, because the $20 I got caught with was not the amount that I stolen over the year, over the time that I worked there. Just keep it 100, okay? So it was a blessing I got caught when I did, because who knows how my life may have turned out had I not. And I went before that judge who later basically told me I had a choice to make. And of course, even when the choices I made that were good, there are some, missteps, but I never got in trouble with the law again, that's for sure. But I think about that. And when I applied to law school, I didn't get in that time, but I did apply. I talked about how going before Judge Niles Jackson was the turning point for my life. It was a turning point. So now that I've shared that with you, I want you to share with me, what were some turning points in your life? I'm interested to hear it.